Lindsay Cortez, welcome back to the Soccer Queens podcast.
Thank you so much. I always love talking to you and your audience, Erica.
I'm really excited to talk about fats today because this is, I feel, the most misunderstood macronutrient. And I'm just having flashbacks to the 1990s when fats were being demonized and everyone was freaking out. Oh, should we have saturated fat? Should we have nut butter? Should we do fat free yogurts? And it's just been so demonized over the years. I think it's getting better, but I really just want you to clear the air
Mhm,
around fats. So
mhm.
let's just dive into this first. Why were fats demonized and what type should we be eating?
What's funny is, like you mentioned, in the 90s, there was this low fat craze, but then suddenly in the 2000s, there was the high fat craze with the Atkins diet, and then shifting over into people still currently advocating for the ketogenic diet, which is very high fat as well. So there's like two extremes, and the unsexy answer, which is always the answer, is balance and in the middle. Right? So why were they demonized in the first place? I think a fear, which I don't want to like feed into this more, but like the societal fear of body fat and body size and concern there, people started to draw a correlation that like eating fat could contribute to fat in your body. And we actually really need to disassociate that. It's not inherently true. Fat on your body is a tissue and an organ, and that is very different than fat in food, which is a nutrient and something that provides us energy. Similar to carbohydrates and protein, there are differences, yes, but how we utilize nutrients in our body, there's no direct translation that eating fat translates into creating direct like fat on our body. So these are two different things. So I think as we move forward in our conversation today, I really want listeners to just focus on fat as the nutrient and how that will function in your body. And ultimately, too, that is why research and people learned, oh, eating fat doesn't inherently, with quotes, make you fat. And that's why then 10 years later, there was a shift of eating fats is good for you now, right? And I'm not saying it's the right thing, especially for performance as an athlete, but that's why then suddenly like ketogenic diet became popular again and people actually eating fats to what they thought would be helping their health. So it's just that's kind of where the cultural shift went. So I definitely want to disassociate fat as a food and a nutrient compared to fat on our bodies are two different things that we're talking about.
Isn't it interesting to just see that shift from one extreme to the other? Because
Yeah.
now everyone's all about the keto diet, super high fat, no carbs. And I think that becomes so dangerous, especially for our young female athletes, because sometimes mom and dad are doing these diets.
Yeah.
So let's get keto out of the way first. Why shouldn't young athletes be following what mom and dad do?
Oh, a lot of reasons. Well, we can very first say just that all diets should be individualized based on your goals. And so, is your goal as a 16-year-old soccer player the same as your 42-year-old mother's goal? It's probably not. And maybe your mom is a great athlete herself, but her goal might be, lifting heavier in the gym, not getting through a tournament weekend. Right. And so I just think first recognizing that everybody has individualized needs. The second thing I'll say too is just as an actively competing athlete, you really want to focus on your performance. And sometimes other people aren't as focused on performance. They might be focused on longevity of life, just like mental clarity and focus, health, like reducing chronic disease risk, or maybe they are focused on aesthetics or kind of how they look, body composition. I'm not saying that any one of these things are wrong. And, as a 16-year-old, still do want you to care about health and, prevention of long term disease. But also, like, as you're playing a 90-minute soccer game, like, we got to focus on your performance. And what does that mean? It absolutely means that you're going to need carbohydrates to fuel your performance. Carbohydrates, which I'm sure we've talked about before and on your podcast and stuff, but like those will fuel you for performance in a 90-minute game. Whereas your mother sitting on the sidelines watching you doesn't need the carbohydrates in that amount or quantity or things like that because she's sitting and watching you for the game. Right. So, I think maybe that's like just a good thing to keep in mind is fueling for performance. It doesn't mean that we don't care about health, we don't care about long term stuff, but we do need to keep our immediate performance goals in mind.
I'm glad you touched on that because all the macronutrients are important. And of course, we're just focusing on fat in this episode, but I'll include the links to the other episodes below on carbs and protein. But let's backtrack a little bit. So, you mentioned how consuming fat is good for protecting our organs and we need to have some of it in our diet. So, why is it essential to get this macronutrient just for overall human health? And then we'll move
Mhm.
on to sport performance.
So, what is fat doing in our body? What is its function when we eat fat? What is it doing? And the word protect is like the biggest thing that I say fats do. They protect and they energize your body. So, from that protection standpoint, I always like to go back to like eighth grade science class. And when you learn about every cell in your body has a phospholipid bilayer, a lipid is a fat. So, every single cell in your body is protected by what goes in and out of that cell by a fat. So, it's literally providing protection at that very cellular level. It's protecting your nerves around your myelin sheath. It's protecting your body by producing hormones. And one of like the more I get into my career with nutrition and health, the more I realize like how much of our health is affected by our hormone levels. And every single hormone is a fat. The structure of a hormone is a fat. If you aren't eating enough fats in your diet, you can have hormone imbalance. You need, even cholesterol. You need cholesterol to help you build other hormones in your body. So it's like if you don't have that, things are going to go wrong. And so again, just that protection. And then if we are going to go that one step further of again, I said fat as a nutrient does not equate to fat as a body tissue, but I will talk about that briefly. Even that provides protection. I mean, the fact that why do we need fat on our bodies is because it provides protection and insulation and padding on the soccer field getting an elbow into your side. Like it's helpful to have a little padding there, so that you don't rupture your spleen immediately, right? So we do need that. It's, your core body temperature needs to be tightly regulated, 98.6-ish degrees. And if it's 50 degrees outside, that layer of fat on your body is protecting you from the outside. So fats as a tissue and more importantly as a nutrient are providing you lots of protection for your body. I do also want to say that another role of them is of course providing energy. All of your macronutrients provide energy. We always say that carbs fuel performance and fuel athletics, but fats do provide a lot of energy and they are notorious for having more energy. Like bite per bite, fats do are more nutrient or energy dense. So they do provide more calories or energy bite per bite, but this is a really good thing because it helps make sure that you have enough, right? And we can also take that energy that we're eating in fats and we can store it into fat tissue. And again, although there's a lot of fear associated with that, I want people to think of this as your energy stores. Like we all need an energy store, just like when you think about your cell phone. Some people go through a lot of cell phone usage and so they buy that extra battery pack or that portable charger so that they can recharge it and not run out of energy. And that's kind of what fats can be in our body, where we can store them so that we don't run out of energy and we have that backup reserve.
There's so many benefits to having fats as a macronutrient to just protect and nourish your body. Now,
Mhm.
in terms of sport performance, is it more the cognitive function that fats help with, or is there anything else?
Yeah, honestly, when it comes to like being in the moment at practice or in a game, I'm going to say that like carbs are your energy focus, really help you perform. Protein really helps you recover. Fats are a little bit more of like they provide that protection and energy more from like a daily need standpoint. There is our brain is composed of tons of fats in our brain. And so I would say from a performance standpoint, if we're getting into it, like focus and cognitive function, and you need this in every single sport. You need to be focused and be on it, quick with your reaction times and things like that. But you can also see how some other sports might lean into that a little bit more with your focus and attention. And actually, I was just thinking about this with soccer specifically because I was working with a client who's a goalkeeper. And it's like, if you've got a really good team, hopefully the game is not being played right in front of you. It's on the other side of the field, right? So, like, but for her to stay focused for 90 minutes when she's maybe not in action so much, like those fats really play a role in not getting distracted and stuff like that. So, we also, I think, from a performance standpoint with fats in our brain, sports that are and athletes are at risk of concussion and head traumas. Fats really protect your brain there in helping you recover from any concussion or head trauma, and also preventing how severe it is if you do suffer from one, or how quickly you recover afterwards. So I think when it comes to fats and performance, it is more of the daily thing of, are we providing that protection and enough energy for our body? And then we do have that like brain um, focus, attention, cognitive function role.
That's super helpful, and I'm sure not a lot of people knew that with the brain and how it's made up of mainly fat,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's super important. Now, I hear a lot, quote unquote, "healthy versus non-healthy fats." What do
Mhm.
you think of that? Is there are there any foods off limits, or, what's this
Mhm.
whole, healthy fats ordeal?
Yeah. As a principal, I just really try to avoid using the words healthy and unhealthy because I think that there's just such a spectrum and there's no one food in particular that causes like immediate damage. Everything can be in moderation, and ultimately we have to look at our diet as a whole, not just one singular food. Um but yeah, I do think for sure people are very quick to say like, oh, that's an avocado, it's a healthy fat. All right, so I have a really cheesy metaphor, if you'll bear with me. So, you know how I said that fats help protect you? Okay. And they also do have a lot of energy. So I like to think of, your house being something that protects you from the outside weather, protects you from intruders. And sometimes people choose to have a dog for extra protection, right? So we're going to say that this dog is here in our metaphor for fats, that a dog will protect the house from like an intruder coming in or something like that. And also dogs are so fun and they're so high energy, right? And so the difference, I would say a healthy fat would be like a German shepherd who's like, okay, we just love this dog, so lovable, such a good people person, but also like really protecting this home. Like, if anybody is going to try to cause me harm, this German shepherd will protect me. No doubt about it, right? Amazing guard dogs versus somebody who has a chihuahua. Okay. Like the chihuahua is going to yip and yap if an intruder's coming into the home and try and warn you, but like really not going to protect you at all. Right. So that's kind of my analogy for thinking about the difference between like salmon that is full of these really protecting fats, avocado, olive oil, almonds, full of these protecting fats versus, okay, McDonald's, it's fat, but it's really not protecting you. Not that much, at least. It's providing you energy. It's still making sure that you are producing hormones, but it's not really like protecting your body the way that salmon is, or, the way again, like, okay, they're both dogs, but there's a big difference between a Chihuahua and a German Shepherd, right? So that's my silly little analogy there. And when it comes down to the science of it, what are the fats that are providing us that protection? They're going to be more of these fats that are considered unsaturated fats, both polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats. And then even like a subset of that is what we consider omega-3 fatty acids, which is a type of unsaturated fat that really provide a lot of protection. They're reducing inflammation. They're literally like can heal some parts of the body that may have been exposed to damage. And again, if there is some sort of threat, whether yeah, you have inflammation, you're exposed to pollution, something like that, that these fats literally fight off and protect you from that damage. So those are our unsaturated fats. These are found in a lot of our plant-based fats, so our nuts, oils, seeds. And then when we go to the non-protecting ones, There's a little bit of a spectrum here. So more so we're gonna say some saturated fats that, okay, they're providing us energy, but just like not as strong in that protection department. And a lot of these are saturated fats, do come from animal products. So if you think about like a beef brisket, that's like, okay, that's high in fat, or full fat dairy sometimes even. I do wanna say there's a spectrum because I even think that that is not that's still providing some health benefits compared to things that are called trans fats. Trans fats are rarely found naturally in the environment, and they are mostly man-made, and they're found in a lot of, they used to be in a lot of fast foods. They're trying to cut that out now. They are found in a lot of packaged or processed items. You just honestly just want to look at the nutrient label and make sure that trans fats are as zero or as close to zero as possible. Um, but these ones are probably like, I don't even know if that I would use the dog metaphor here. I might say that, trans fats are like a cat and really just gonna kind of like ignore the fact that an intruder's in the home and like walk the other way and not even care. There is a spectrum here of those protecting and then maybe not so much protecting, but still providing you energy types of fats. Was that helpful? Gonna give you that spectrum?
That's super helpful, and I really like the analogy because it's telling young female athletes, "Hey, focus on what can protect you and provide a nutrient dense meal. But at the
Mhm.
same time, it's okay to have a taco, have a cookie, have some ice
Oh, yeah.
cream. Like, be sane. You don't need to
Mhm.
like restrict because that's just not sustainable or good for you. So I
Oh,
like
and
that
chihuahuas are
message.
still cute in their own regard, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, if we're talking, hey, we're on the road and it's post game and like literally McDonald's is all there is, it's still providing you energy.
Yeah.
It's still protecting your hormones and helping you absorb nutrients and giving you, nourishment. It might not be giving you those extra benefits that, salmon and avocado quinoa bowl is, but it's not hurting you. It's just not necessarily helping.
And after a game or after a practice, that's totally fine, and
Yeah.
I think one thing that people also get wrong too is that timing of fats.
Yeah.
So I think I saw something the other day that avocado toast might not be the best option before a game because it's high in fat. So
Yeah.
what are some meals before a game, and when do fats kinda come into play around our training and game
Mhm.
schedule?
Yeah, so this is ultimately honestly gonna come down to more of a portion thing and how your stomach responds because fats digest slowly. So it doesn't matter if it's a fat coming from brisket and cheese or from avocado, they digest slowly. And so, right before a game, it's kind of you can have like if you have half of an avocado on toast, you'll have to test it out. But like, I'm fine with that. If I have peanut butter on, if I have a full fat Greek yogurt, like I'm personally fine with that. But if it's, we have a larger portion of it, now we've got more fats and it's really slow to digest. And now it's like that food is sitting in your stomach instead of being in your bloodstream ready to use and ready to run and jump around, you can see how that wouldn't feel good. So I think there's a little bit of trial and error there but I think it more so than the type of fat before a game or before a practice, I would say it's kind of that quantity that you might want to, and I don't have a specific amount because this is trial and error of what works for you. But yeah, they digest more slowly, and you can probably feel that too. This is another benefit of eating fats is that if it's not pre-game or pre-meal, like again, just thinking about let's just say an off day where you eat lunch, like in some ways want food to digest slowly so that you are satisfied for a longer period of time. You don't want to eat a meal and 35 minutes later be starving again, right? You want food to provide you that feeling of fullness and satisfaction for a couple hours. It's just more convenient to not, already as athletes, we do have to eat a lot and often, but like if you're constantly hungry, that's not a nice feeling either. And so fats digesting slowly provide that like long lasting satisfaction. But you can see how right before a game, you don't want food sitting in your stomach for a long period of time. Like you want to feel like it's digested and you feel, light and ready to run around. And so that's why you just want to play it by ear a little bit with how many fats you're having before a game or practice.
That's brilliant, and I think, some people recommend don't have fats at all before a game, but you're right, it is going to be highly individual, and you do have to test it out, and
Yeah.
I remember when I was in college, I decided to test out having a Five Guys burger before practice,
Yeah.
and that did
Didn't
not
go so
work
well.
out.
Yeah.
But then, like, having, like, a bagel with just a little bit of cream cheese, totally
That's
okay
totally
3
fine.
hours
Mhm.
before. So, yes, it is
Yes.
highly individual, and I think to wrap this up, let's go over some of your favorite foods that have fats that could be good, before or after a game to really help athletes get those nutrients.
Yeah. Okay. So some of my favorite fats, I wrote down a list because I knew you were going to ask me this. I love when fats are in a food that you don't think of as being a fat. So, like eggs and salmon are great protein sources, and tuna fish, great protein sources, but you're actually getting some of those really protecting fats in there as well. So, the whole egg with the yolk, salmon, tuna, I love that.
I love
Um,
eggs.
yeah, yeah, they're
Just
great.
such a great breakfast.
And honestly, a great way, that like, I think that's probably the first thing I learned how to cook, like, when I was 12 was an egg, so I think, like, if you're not comfortable with cooking or you're a high school or a college athlete or something too, like, it's just really easy to, like, add eggs to your rice and call that dinner? So it doesn't have to just be breakfast. Okay, I do love avocado. I didn't grow up with avocado. I like that it's a popular food now, so I love avocado. Seeds are another favorite because, and like we can say nuts and seeds, and people do peanut butter, people do almonds or trail mix, but also seeds like pumpkin seeds or sesame seeds. These are things that I think are one fun to snack on, but also fun to like throw it on top of throw some pumpkin seeds on top of your salad, throw pumpkin seeds on top of your oatmeal. Sesame seeds, if you have a rice and carrot and egg bowl for dinner, like throw some sesame seeds on top of that and you're getting some extra fats in. It's really helpful. I
What
am a
what are
big
some
mm,
some other nutrients that are in the seeds? Because I heard they're, like, super potent and have other things going on.
yeah, vitamin E is a great vitamin that's in lots of nuts and seeds. Also there's typically a good amount of fiber
Okay.
in your seeds and nuts as well. And then I think they're specifically high in the omega-3 unsaturated fats, which are really great for reducing inflammation.
Awesome. Bang
Yeah.
for buck there.
Yeah. I did wanna share too another favorite fat of mine is, like, whole fat dairy, so d whole fat or even 2%, dairy, whether it be cheese, yogurt, like, this is actually in our dairy, there are some saturated fats, but there's so many benefits as well to those saturated fats, and I think, people who are just, like, making a smoothie with almond milk or low fat milk, like, if you actually put, like, a 2% Greek yogurt in there or a full fat milk to make your smoothie, it'll provide you with so many more satisfying fats that really fuel and nourish and protect your body. And cheese, butter, those are some of my other favorites. And also I do wanna kinda give a shout out to some dark meats, like a rotisserie chicken, chicken thighs, drumsticks, things like that, because you're getting protein, you're getting amazing nutrients like zinc and iron, and then you're getting some, like, whole healthy natural fats as well that can be really beneficial to your diet.
I love it. Thank you for coming with that list. That's, like, super helpful for everyone, and I definitely want everyone to follow up with you, and I'm going to include Lindsay's podcast, the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast, in the show notes, as well as her services and website and her social media handles. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode on fats, and I'll see you next time.